Okay, people, so the artist of Boruto recently revealed some major info from the Boruto 2 Blue Vortex story, in particular, one of which being a major connection between Jiraiya and Kashin Koji, as well as big insight into Himawari, some aspects of things that was going down during the time skip that, honestly, I feel like, yo, dog, why wasn't that included in the manga? Why are we getting it in a Q&A interview? But hey, I'll take it if that's where we're gonna get it at this point, and quite a bit more. So yeah, we're gonna talk about it all of what's happening here from this interview from Mikio Ikamoto. We didn't get a chapter of Boruto this month, but we got this. Let's talk about it. And before we continue, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell to get all notifications. I got you covered. Hit them buttons, subscribe, bell, check the channel frequently for new uploads. Yeah. Okay, people, so we got this new interview from Mikio Ikamoto, the artist, and pretty much one of the people that is mainly in charge of the creation of the Boruto story. Obviously, Masashi Kishimoto, the original creator of Naruto, oversees things, something in that ballpark, but for the most part, Mikio Ikamoto is the guy. He's the person that's really doing the entire scenario of Boruto, and he recently sat down to answer some pretty notable questions. And I'm gonna be honest with you, when I hear these things, I'm like, okay, this is stuff that at the very least with the anime they can include and incorporate these things depending on how the anime is going to get done. At this point, I don't foresee the anime going into like fillers and all sorts of stuff like that. At most, maybe like a couple of episodes of original material, but I don't see it going that direction. But some of this stuff needs to be covered and needs to be in some way or another within the story, and not just in the realm of, hey, here's a Q&A that most people outside of people that don't read the Q&A or don't check out like my video, for example, will never know about these pretty significant and important details, some of which is kind of like comical, but we're also going to clear some stuff up regarding Jiraiya and Kashin Koji as well. So we got a lot to talk about. I don't want to waste any more of your time. Let's start reading some of the things that were said in this interview regarding Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, the time skip, and more. Yeah. One of the big ones for starters. After Omnipotence, what did the people around Sarada think of her words and actions? Also, I'd like to know in detail how Sarada spent those 3 years. Now, for those who don't know, Omnipotence was essentially the ability that was used by the being known as Ada that swapped the realities, where everybody looked at Boruto as if he wasn't the son of Naruto, and Kawaki as if he was Kawaki Uzumaki, the son of Naruto, and looked at Boruto and branded him as a traitor and believed that he's the one that killed the Hokage, forcing Boruto to run into hiding along with Sasuke for 3 years. However, two people, if I'm not mistaken, maybe some others, but definitely two people, Sarada and Sumire, never fell to the spell of Ada's BS. So they never believed that Boruto was bad, and none of the nonsense that the rest of the shinobi world is believing, because the Omnipotence didn't affect them. So a lot of that, you gotta wonder, like, yeah, so if for 3 years Sarada and Sumire are telling everybody like, yo, Boruto's not actually bad, he's good, why are y'all talking crap about him? What's wrong with y'all? Are y'all like idiots? Are y'all oblivious? Like what's happening here? You got to imagine that people that are looking at him as this criminal that possibly killed the beloved benevolent 7th Hokage, like, yeah, there was probably so much that was going on, and Sarada was probably massively impacted by it. You want to know 3 years what happened with her life, because again, for the most part, she probably lived a life of peace up until that point in the Hidden Leaf Village, right? Like, yo, father was Sasuke, maybe some people didn't take kindly to him per se, but she was living a normal life in the Leaf. It wasn't like, you know, how the Uchiha of the past were hunted and or felt, you know, exiled to the ends of the village. She was living a good life. Fast forward, and then that time skip and everything that happened of her still standing by Boruto's side, which I will give her props for that. Like, while everybody else was talking crap about Boruto and treating him like if he's the scum of the earth, she still was like, nah, supporting him. And here's what he said. Sumire, who likewise escaped the effects of Omnipotence, yo, shout out to Ikamoto, he made sure, he's like, it wasn't only Sarada who escaped that, by the way, deliberately tried to avoid conspicuous words and actions, but Sarada held nothing back and continued telling people the truth exactly as it was. Very interesting. So Sumire was the person all along that was very careful and worried about saying certain words and being very nervous about saying certain words, and in general just played along like, no, yeah, Boruto, okay, whatever, when in actuality she knew the truth, while Sarada was the one the entire time that was like, no, you, Boruto's not bad. That's very interesting. kind of now explains more of their character if you really think about it, but that actually makes sense. So all along, the person that was actually so worried and nervous about saying certain things and whatnot was Sumire, and Sarada was the loud, abrasive one that never stopped believing in Boruto. On top of that, with her father Sasuke having left the village together with Boruto, she must have faced extremely harsh treatment from those around her. There were probably things like graffiti on the walls of her house and slander directed at her. To begin with, even before the omnipotence incident, there was already a certain number of people who thought poorly of Sasuke. Her mother Sakura must have gone through a difficult time as well, but like Sasuke, she continued to stand by Sarada. Yeah, let's not forget a major factor here, that Sasuke, after the end of the war, many people still didn't feel bad for him, still didn't forgive him. They still felt like he was a traitor. Don't forget what happened when he ran away from the village and went to Orochimaru. Many people didn't forgive that. And then on top of that, what happened in the midst of the war, for those that did know, of how he basically tried to do a coup in the midst of the war and whatnot. Yeah, there's people that are going to think very poorly of this dude and think he's a piece of garbage. So you got that added on to he just ran away with somebody that supposedly killed the Hokage that looks identical to him. The omnipotence is a very, very strong spell, kids, okay? It's very, very strong. No matter how much you try to fight through it or whatnot, the lie is just there until omnipotence is completely annihilated. So I don't blame Sumire, just to be very clear, for choosing her words carefully and probably being a nervous wreck throughout the whole scenario. I don't blame her at all. This was a very delicate situation. Sarada, however, took a massive, you gotta imagine, societal beating, so to speak, being treated a certain way because she stood by Boruto's side, despite everybody looking at it what do you mean you standing by his side? He's this horrible person. And she's like, but no, he's not. And I'll beat you if you keep on saying that. How did Himawari come to be trained by 3 members of Ino, Shika, Cho? That's something, I guess, to kind of question, but also to give a little bit of insight into, yeah, Himawari was able to activate Kurama and get in touch with him, but you gotta imagine in between the time skip, she had to have some type of training, right? Some formal level of training in some fashion to be able to be at the level she's at right now, because if not, she would have been bumbling and stumbling kind of like Naruto was in part 1, where he just had absolutely no control. And granted, there's different circumstances. She's dealing with a pup, essentially. Make no mistake about it, she's dealing with Scrappy Doo in comparison to Naruto was dealing with that 3-headed dog from the basement of Harry Potter. 2 very different beings and whatnot. But still, nevertheless, for Kurama to even accept you in any form or fashion, she had to have some level of training. And Ino, Shika, Cho being the ones, it kind of makes sense in some of the scenarios we've seen in some of the previous chapters. After Omnipotence, Himawari was worried about Boruto and sought advice from Sarada, who was taking his side. However, because Sarada was in the situation described above within the current Konoha, people hating on her and stuff, the 3 members of Ino, Shika, Cho became concerned about Himawari and urged her to distance herself from Sarada. So basically, they were hating too. I get y'all were under the spell, but even y'all, no sympathy for homie, huh? Gradually, Himawari began spending more time with Team 10, and in order to become a source of strength for Boruto, she began shinobi training alongside Team 10. So even though all of these people were hating on him, secretly talking dirt about him, all sorts of stuff, Himawari never let it faze her, and she was utilizing alright, I'll train with y'all, I'll play these games with y'all, so to speak, because she never stopped believing, he's not bad, bro. He's not. Which accounts to and makes sense as to where Himawari is right now, with again unlocking the Nine Tails Kurama. Around when and I ain't gonna lie, this one right here, I still find it a little weird and creepy. I'm gonna just keep it all the way real. It is what it is. I get it or whatnot, but I still imagine Himawari as the little girl that knocked out Naruto on the day Naruto became Hokage. Hearing this type of stuff to me just feels a little bit gross, but we'll read it. He only started becoming conscious of her recently, likely because they began spending more time together through training and missions. Himawari is capable enough to handle all the household matters by herself and has an independent mindset, so she gives those around her an impression of being more mature than her actual age. Inojin first came to admire those qualities in her, and that admiration gradually developed into romantic feelings. And all the other characters, whatever, but to me, that's Naruto's little daughter, you know what I'm saying? Naruto's little girl. So when I hear stuff like this, the Inojin Himawari ship, it's garbage. I'm sorry, it's just garbage, and it makes me look at it not that. Out of all of them, you want to ship Sarada, Sumire, Ada, Granny Tsunade, do whatever you want. Just leave Himawari out of that type of scenario. Please, please, please. Then they asked him, please tell us your favorite male character and female character, Ikamoto Sensei. He said, sorry, this doesn't really answer the question, but for now, it's a secret. I don't want readers to be unnecessarily biased, and my opinion of the characters often changes depending on how the story develops at any given time. If there's an opportunity after the series is finished, it might be interesting to reveal my final personal ranking. Since that alone isn't much of an answer, the characters I find difficult to draw lately are Kawaki and Chocho. Conversely, the easiest for me to draw are middle-aged and elderly men. So probably that's why he's sticking in characters like Kobu. That's probably why Amado recently returned into the fold. That's probably why we're getting a little bit more Shikamaru here and there and whatnot, because he's having an okay time doing those characters. Is doing the, you could argue, the cool design of Kawaki. And Chocho, I don't know why you have a problem with Chocho, bro. For me personally, as an artist, I would probably have a lot of fun drawing a character like Chocho. I just think it's a unique design, especially in the Two Blue Vortex aspect. So that one, I'm a little bit like, whatever, dude. But the Kawaki one is like, bro, that's like one of the sickest designs in the series. Love him or hate him. Like, what are you doing? Is it that difficult to draw some epic stuff? And then him keeping his favorite a secret. Come on, dog. One of which we know, the way he sauced up Boruto so much, we know Boruto's one of his favorites. Like, no matter what, we know Boruto, and more than likely Koji is another one of his favorites. Hence why he gave Koji one of the most important roles in the entire story, and Boruto is just like the drip god. Like, people kind of don't see things for what they are sometimes. Like, clearly, Boruto is Ikamoto, if not his favorite, one of his favorites. And likewise, clearly, Kashin Koji is one of Ikamoto's favorites, if not his favorites. Hence why he gave him the role of, like, Sasuke and Naruto are gone? Fine. So you get this, you know, Jiraiya-esque type of character throughout the story to be an important figure and to help guide Boruto throughout it. Those are probably his favorites. Alongside, I'll throw in maybe Sarada, probably a favorite of his. And probably, in a hateful way, Ada. Because, like, Ada, oh gosh. Like, she honestly plays for a great villain that just has been getting away with it. All the things she did, and she's getting away with it, and she gotta be a favorite too, I guess, right? Then here's one that I'm sure is gonna light up the comment section. Because, you know, despite the fact that they say the whole clone thing of Kashin, Koji, and Jiraiya, which more so is just like narratively wise and construction wise, sure, based off of the same idea or whatever, but you know, the whole clone aspect is one thing. But in general, when I heard this piece of information of like the shocking connection between Kashin, Koji, and Jiraiya, I was like, oh boy, it's hilarious, and we're gonna get into this. But basically, just as Jiraiya was called the pervy sage, does Kashin Koji have that tendency as well? And he said, actually he does. However, while Jiraiya was openly extremely perverted, Kashin Koji is a closet perv, so he doesn't show it outwardly. As long as someone is nearby, he probably won't reveal that side of himself. Even when he's alone, Ada's Sharingan exists in this world, so he should remain wary of it and avoid letting his true nature slip. And I'm just gonna say this major funny factor. Like, bro, the whole perv thing or whatnot, because, you know, Jiraiya, like, his whole thing was like, oh, he see a babe in a swimsuit, or, you know, reading his magazines or whatever the case may be. For example, like, a dude that likes big-chested women, big behind women, or just in general, whatever his preference is, like, I don't get how, as long as you're not, like, maybe arguably, you know, Jiraiya doing that outwardly stuff, but if it's inside, like, inwardly, like, you could say, what, he has, like, lustful thoughts, I guess, like, so does everybody else in this fucking planet. Honestly, I think that connection is a little bit flawed and skewed, of especially if Jiraiya was damn near with binoculars and shit like that, and this dude is like, doesn't even show it, let alone with Ada breathing down his neck like, yo, you better not. Like, he's even more so very conservative about it. Like, he's just a man. Like, he's just a man that likes women. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and maybe he also does think like some attractive women are really attractive or whatever the case may be, but that's a man. Honestly, it makes him sound more human than if you were to write him any other way. So honestly, this big connection between Kashin Koji and Jiraiya, that they both like, you know, they want a woman to say it with their chest, so to speak. yeah, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, myself as well. And then one last question. How is the physique of a Shinju determined? Is it related to the physique of the human it originates from? Because again, the Shinju, the threat that we've been facing this entire time, they're all basically based off of, you know, the person that they devoured, so to speak. So Sasuke's Shinju Hidari, based off of him. Jiraiya, I think, is the only one that is quote-unquote an original. Basically, they end up roughly the same size as the human they originated from. However, some claw grimes are larger individuals, and those may end up bigger than their original human. This is everything related to Boruto in this month's V-Jump issue. So yeah, whoever they devoured, essentially they take on traits. Think like something that I've always wanted to say. I don't know why I never got a chance to say it, but I'm gonna say it now. Think Mega Man. You know how Mega Man, he goes through certain things, and obviously with the Shinju, they just take on one trait of one aspect or become that one person. But with Mega Man, whoever he defeats or whatnot, he takes a piece of them and can utilize their powers. So it's something in that realm. Just Mega Man has more, like, you know, versatility, so to speak, to hold within his arsenal of abilities. But yeah, found this interview to be pretty fascinating, finding out more about the 3 years of some of the stuff that Sarada had to endure, finding out about Himawari's training, of course, the big shocking connection between Jiraiya and Kashin Koji. Oh my gosh, finding a little bit of insight into Ikemoto's quote-unquote favorites or favorites to draw at this particular point. And yeah, curious what you guys think about this whole thing. What do you think about Himawari's training with Ino Shikacho? Does that kind of add up for you, how she was able to get in contact so quickly, or you know, get, I guess, contacted by the Nine Tails within? Your thoughts on everything that Sarada had to endure during Omnipotence, and how do you feel about, again, that Sumire was just overly careful, probably a nervous wreck with even the words that she spoke, in comparison to Sarada that was just like going crazy, like, no, you're not gonna talk bad about him. Like, very interesting, different approaches to a very tough situation. And your overall thoughts and expectations for the future of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex and beyond. Shout outs to Ikemoto for giving us this treat. No chapter, but we get this. I'll take it. That's all I have for this one. I'm ForneverWorld. As always, people, have an awesome day. Peace in, and yeah, we love hot woman around here, boy.